Hey there, and welcome to a special episode of Talk Travel to Me. I'm Kristy, I'm your host and founder of Mickey Guru Travel Company, and I'm currently sailing on board the Star Princess, the newest cruise ship in the Princess Cruises fleet. I'm going to share all of my takeaways, good, bad, and the what the hex. So stay tuned.
Ready for your fast pass to unforgettable adventures? Welcome to Talk Travel to Me. Featuring our Mickey Guru Travel Company expert travel advisors, this podcast will guide you in traveling with more ease, confidence, and a sprinkle of magic. Tune in for unique insights, insider info, tips, and personal travel stories that'll transform your journeys into exhilarating moments and lifelong memories. Fasten your seatbelt, grab your passport, let's embark, and let's talk travel.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Like I mentioned, I am doing this, actually recording this episode on my iPhone while we are at sea somewhere in the Caribbean. But I wanted to kind of just pop and do like a right off the cuff kind of episode where we talk about the pluses of this vacation and the minuses, and then a couple things that I found that are just downright ugly. So without further ado, let me just lay the foundation of this trip to kind of explain how I ended up on our Princess cruise ship to begin with, okay? One of my sisters is turning 50. Actually, today, January 14th, is her actual birthday. Happy birthday, Jen. And wanted to do a cruise with the sisters. So it would have been Candace and I and Jen celebrating her 50th birthday at sea. Before I knew what happened, we grew to a group of 12. And that group ranges from 20, my youngest nephew is 20, through 95. My gram is here as well. Now, when Jen was looking at doing a cruise, she did not want to do Disney. She is a child-free adult and has a perception of what those are, and I have yet to be able to break through. She was most interested in Norwegian because she really likes that cruise line, and was also intrigued by Princess, having never done it, and the Star Princess, sailing over her actual birthday and being at sea over her actual birthday was something that she really found appealing. You may or may not know that I am not a huge fan of Norwegian Cruise Line. I will book it for people if they want it, but there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes with them, and therefore it's not my favorite. Never have I ever done a Princess cruise, and so I decided that, you know what, of those two, let's try Princess. Let's try Star Princess because it looks like it's going to be, a really fabulous ship. So we are spread across 5 staterooms, and my younger sister, Candace, actually ended up having to have emergency surgery and not join us on this voyage. But her kids have, and that's kind of where we land for that preliminary stuff. So as I said, we are spread across 5 staterooms. 4 of them are balcony staterooms on deck 14, 2 midship, 2 forward, and then the kids are in an ocean view stateroom down on deck 5. So we've got a little bit of the mixture there. And that sort of leads me into my first pro for this ship. The staterooms on this ship are really spacious. They have plenty of plugs, USB-C, USB, and then just plain old standard US plugs. They also have the European models as well. In my room, Jen and I are sharing a room, and there is no lack of plugs, which is great because a lot of cruise ships actually are struggling with that. Even the brand new Disney Destiny, they just don't have enough plugs in the room. Here, it's been great. We have our room set up with 2 twin beds, and Jen and I both were laughing about the fact that not never have we ever, but it has been many, many years since we slept in twin size beds. But these beds are actually incredibly comfortable. And we also have a couch, which would have been where Candace was sleeping. But now we have it just as a couch. The room is spacious. There's a desk area. There's a little mini refrigerator. There's the balcony is great. It's your typical size balcony, but the room is just really well appointed. I will say, for those people that are TV watchers on vacation, my dad pointed out that this was the first ship he's been on where the TV didn't swivel off the wall. Take that for what it is. I almost never, hardly ever, watch TV on vacation, so I can't really speak to that being true. But there also is plenty of storage in here. There is a very large closet, several drawers. I do think that even had there been 3 adults sharing this room, I think we still would have been okay storage-wise. The ship itself is beautiful. We are currently on day 4 of our 7-night cruise, and I actually just discovered Wakeview Terrace today, which is the aft area on deck 8, where there is a pool. It's an adult-only pool. There's a bar, a lot of sun loungers. There's just a lot to this ship. It is Princess's biggest ship to date, and they definitely have a lot of really unique spaces, and they're making good use of the spaces, which is great. Another plus for Princess, I think, is the atmosphere is pretty relaxed. No one seems to be in much of a hurry to do anything. And that can be a plus or a minus. So I'm getting to the minuses in a minute. But that is something that we notice, is that it is very laid back. The vibe here is less party and more just chill out, relax, and enjoy the company of people that you're with. Which I can appreciate. I do think that there's a little bit of a line here where you want a little bit more entertainment, but I do think that has something to do with the demographic. More on that in a minute. If you might be aware, you might see this advertised all over, because I certainly do, but Princess uses medallions. Very similar, actually, to the Disney Magic Band, or Disney Band Plus, is what they call it out at sea. You basically can wear it. They give it to you on a lanyard, but you can buy a watch type of a tool, I guess. That word is weird. And put it in there. They have a couple different things, but it's like a small magnetic round circle. And you order it before you cruise. They put your name on it. They put the name of the ship and the date on it, which is really cool. Makes for a good souvenir. And this is what you use when you order a drink. So if you have a drink package, it'll automatically check your drink package and make sure that it's okay. And then if you didn't have a package, it would charge it to your room folio. Same thing when you go to the spa, you use it, you pay for your things with it. This is virtually a cash-free ship, as most are, but they do accept cash at the casino, although they do encourage you, for obvious reasons, to just use that medallion. It's fine. Trust us. It'll all be good. And before you know it, you're $4,000 in the hole. Not me. But that's, I think, part of that method to that madness. But I will say that one of the things that they advertise with this medallion is that you can order drinks and food wherever you are on the ship. It doesn't actually work that way. Gosh, I'm bleeding right into the negatives of the ship. So why don't we hop over onto that spot? And maybe we'll come back a little bit too, because honestly, I'm loving this cruise. I'm no major things that are major turnoffs, although there have been a couple things that I am just shaking my head at, like, what is even happening here, people? But let's talk about the medallion. So you're supposed to be able to sit anywhere on the ship and order from the Princess app, and you can order food and drinks and all of that. Like I mentioned, we are on day 4, and every single time I have gone to use this medallion to order myself a drink, I have got an error that says, oops, they're not sailing in that location at this time. Even when I specifically go to the location that it says that it's going to be working at, and it doesn't. So, that's not really fun. But I don't know. I think that is a definite miss for this, for sure. So along the same vein with the medallion, let's talk a little bit about the Princess Cruise app. Now, I went to the first day, they had a talk by one of the activities staff about how much time that they've invested in the time and money they've invested in the app and the medallion, and that they, have focused on that because they want it to be top notch. But there's some things in the app that aren't there, or I guess it's things that aren't there in the app that are real basic kind of things. As an example, it lists every restaurant that's on board, but there is no hours for the restaurant. So multiple occasions we've shown up places and it's not open, and none of that is there. Similarly, we went to go swimming and realized that the hours for the pool were not also there. That was really a pain. The big, bad, ugly one, in my opinion, is that what's also not there is the all aboard time. So for those of you that don't cruise a whole lot, when the ship goes to port, there is a time where the ship arrives and you can start getting off the ship. And then there is what is all aboard time. And that's essentially the last time that you can get on board. You need to be there before that time, right? All aboard means everybody should be back on board. On other cruise lines, and I mean all the others that I've been on, Norwegian, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Disney, I have never questioned what time all aboard time is. It has been made blatantly obvious, like blatantly. You couldn't miss it unless you were really not paying any sort of attention. On this ship, it's not that way. And I find it fascinating. I find it absolutely fascinating. What does work really well in the app is you can message guest services and they will get back to you and respond to any questions that you have. So I messaged them and said, hey, I'm sure it's here somewhere, but I'm looking for the all aboard time in the app. I see that we're docking in Honduras at 8 a.m., but I don't see what time is all aboard is. Can you help me find it? And they responded and said, it's not in the app yet. We haven't added it there. And I was like, what? And they said, but you can hear it over the PA system, or you can check the panels in the hallways. For something this important, it blew my mind, honestly, that it wasn't just everywhere you look. And when they say the PA system, they specifically don't put that in your room so that in case you're resting and that sort of thing, that they'll disturb you. So it's only in public areas and in the hallway. So I thought that was really odd, but it's not there. So to me, the app has some spaces where they've definitely cut some corners. And it's just, that's a challenge. I will say that one of the other major functions with the app that they advertise and that they talk about is that you can message the other guests in your party. Like I mentioned, we have 11 of us sailing. And so we were relying on that to be able to communicate with each other. And I have to say, it probably only is working about 50% of the time. And there's a variety of issues with it. One of them being that, like, you send a message and it looks like it went through, and then you don't hear from your people and you're like, what am I talking to myself? And we've actually had messages, some messages go through immediately, some messages not go through for a good 24 to 36 hours. And when it actually does come through, it puts it back in the order in which it was sent, so it's lost. Does that make sense? Can you picture that? It's hard to do over a podcast. So it basically, though, is they tell you this is the greatest thing. And if it worked, it would, because it's super easy to add your shipmates to your chat and to have a group text and all of that. But it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. And then my aunt actually had an issue where she was trying to send a message to my dad. And when she opened it up with just his name, it was like spazzing out. Like, you know how it like started flickering over and over and over again. She couldn't do anything. So she had to close the app, go back in, and she did that 3 or 4 times before it actually caught up. So, yeah, the app could be a great thing, and it could be a not so great thing. It ended up on my list of kind of like both plus and minus, because it will be great at some point, I hope, but the corner cutting is just weird. Now, another thing I want to make sure that we mention and talk about is the demographic of this ship. Princess in general tends to have an older clientele. So that is ranges between 55 and 85 is kind of what they claim the demographic is. Even though they do have a kids club on board, they do have activities for kids. They're kind of, I hate to say it, but they're not great. They do have some like teen activities where it says like you can unhosted time to hang out with other 17 to 25 year olds or something, which I gotta say that range kind of made me a little crazy in the head, because I was like, that's a really big range when you're talking about 17-year-olds hanging out with 25-year-olds, but that's fine. But I will say that I have been on, like I said, multiple ships, multiple cruise lines, and I find that I have never been on a ship that's even close to this age demographic. Most of the people on this ship, I would guess, are somewhere between 65 and 70, being the absolute average. And then there is a lot of people that fit into the category like my gram does, 95 years old. I met a woman this morning who she was celebrating her birthday, and I stopped to say happy birthday to her, and she said she was 104. And I thought, wow, congratulations, but also this demographic really is high. Now, that's not a plus or a minus, right? Like, it just depends on the experience that you're looking for. And I will say that my daughter, who's 23, my nephew, the older one, is 20, and the younger one is 19. They have found plenty of things to do. So there is a basketball court, pickleball court. There is the pool areas, obviously. My nephews especially loved the fact that we were here during football playoff season. So for multiple nights, they had the pool, the big TV screen, the big screen above the pool was showing all of the NFL games. So they absolutely loved that. They spent their entire Sunday moving between hot tubs in the pool and lounge chairs watching football, and they were in heaven. So I think, it's a demographic is never an all good or an all bad thing. It's just something to know. I will say that I believe there is somewhere around 10 children, so kids under 12 on this sailing. And I mean, really not many at all. Not many at all. Which for some people, like my sister Jen, who I mentioned was a child-free adult, that was great. That met exactly what she was looking for. To me, it felt just a little strange, just because of what I'm used to. Much more of that family cruising market, I guess, is kind of where I would fall with that. Now, a question that I get asked all the time is, how is the food on the ship? And the struggle here is that it is one of the most subjective pieces of data that we can share, right? Like, I'm a very picky eater, so what I find palatable and good is different than a foodie that might be looking for something that's more eclectic and more spice driven and all of that, right? So I will share that I feel like in terms of the main dining room, in terms of the main dining room, I think it is the next to the worst food I've had at sea. The worst was actually a Norwegian ship that I was on, and this is pretty close. I do not feel confident in their ability to handle allergies. One of the people in our party has a gluten allergy. It is not celiac, so it is not, I don't want to say it's not serious, because it is a serious allergy, but the effects of it aren't as bad if someone was celiac. But she was severely glutened, meaning she was given something that had gluten in it on the first evening and spent that entire night absolutely miserable. So there's that aspect. I really don't feel confident in their ability to handle the allergies. So for me as a travel advisor, I'm like, I'm going to have guests now that say I have food allergies, and I'm going to say, I'm just not feeling Princess is going to be the safest bet for you. Now, if you're listening to this and you have food allergies and you've been on Princess, I would love to hear your take on that, because not only is it going to be different based on the cruise line, but also ship to ship can be considerably different. I would have expected that the best of the best would be on this brand new ship, though, and that's just not the experience we've had. I will say that they have the option of having filet or filet and lobster at the dining room. And my gram on night one got the filet. She was tickled that it was only $24 extra. And she went for it. And then she sent it back because it was not a good cut of beef. So I saw that from down the table and talked with her a bit about it later. And she said that it wasn't a good cut. And it also was incredibly overcooked based on what she had asked for. So there just seems to be, an overall miss in the main dining. Now, I will say main dining can be difficult. And I don't know why, but a lot of the cruise ships, even Royal Caribbean, tends to have some issues in the main dining. But their specialty restaurants are great. We have not done any specialty restaurants on the ship up until now. I don't think that we're going to. But yeah, I just don't see it. And the group, I consulted with the entire group, and everybody kind of is feeling the same way. Although my dad wanted me to point out that the French onion soup at Aurora and Celestial is top notch. And I have to agree, I did have that and it was very good. All right. So apart from the food in the main dining room, there are so many spaces on this ship to eat. I appreciate that side. We have the eatery, we have the Americana diner, we have up on the pool deck, we have pizza, tacos, salads, which everybody's been laughing at me, but I cannot stop raving about the salad experience up on the pool deck. Perhaps the best salad I've ever had. And it's essentially a make your own salad bar, but they have a crew member doing it. But you basically say, I would like romaine, I would like iceberg lettuce, I would like chicken, and all of the things. And it was absolutely fabulous. So I feel like as bad as the main dining is, the food on the pool deck and also the buffet, those are wins. They do a really good job in that space. So I'm super happy there. So let's talk a little bit about activities on board. So they do have the daily list of activities all in the app. They also have what they call a patter, which is a printed version, and it gives you the highlights. So not everything that they're doing on board is in the patter, but there's a lot there. So if you're not so technologically inclined, you do have at least some of that information. The casino is a very big deal on this ship. People are big gamblers on here. And so a lot of people end up hanging out in the casino all night, and that's where they're choosing to spend their time. If you're not, there feels like a little bit of a lull in activities. Like I will say, normally like on a Disney cruise, on a sea day, I don't relax much. I run from thing to thing to thing because there's so many activities going on. And here, there just really isn't. So, for example, like they have one activity they have going on today is board games from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., which is great because they have a space open. They have plenty of games so that you can go with your people and do that. But otherwise, it's like, come to the spa and get a tutorial on how to fix the lines on your face. Or as my daughter said, you could always go to this thing over here and find out how fat you are, which I will say, and maybe we'll get into this at a different time, but they don't have a whole lot of bedside manner when they're talking to people. Okay, we'll just put it that way. So there is like I think there's a miss when it comes to the activities. I'm curious though, like if people that are of the right demographic for this ship, do they feel that way? I know that my family that are, in that 55, 60 plus, they loved the shows. They thought they were great. The rest of us took 5-10 minutes of it and went, oh my gosh, I'm not coming back. And so that was kind of an interesting note that it might just be what we're looking for isn't necessarily here. With that said, there have been some great activities. One night we did a music trivia and sing-along, and that ended up being with Graham, my stepmother, my aunt, and me and the 3 kids, as we're calling them. And we had a blast. That was really, really fun. And then there was a game show that we went and played. And I will say that I was one of the people chosen to kind of be part of the game show, and our team won. Yay! But that was a really fun time, and the kids really enjoyed it just as much as I did. There was a definite, it was a good mix of ages in that room, and everybody was having a good time. So that was good. But I think the activities here, it's really, I feel like it's in one of those mid-range. I don't want to complain about it, but I also am they could do so much better. So that's interesting. I will say that I've encountered many, many crew, and this is something that was a conversation with all of us at breakfast, and that we all kind of agreed that the crew was very, the interactions were very strange. Either it went very, very well, and you had the nicest person you were talking to, our room steward, Cherry, she is phenomenal, one of the best I've ever had. She is just kind and on top of things and just really thoughtful. Absolutely have loved having her be part of our vacation. But then just as wonderful as some people are, it's just as bad on the other side. One of the people in our group walked up to order a coffee, and she was standing in line, and the person that was working at the counter just walked over and just stared at her. No, hello, nothing, how can I help you? And she waited a second and was kind of I'm not sure, are you ready for me? I don't know what to do. And then they said, what do you want? Now, let's just say there are language barriers on cruises because most of the people working on cruise ships don't have English as a first language, but I've never been asked, what do you want before? So that I don't think it was entirely a language barrier. So she said, I'd like a latte or whatever it was. And they said, put your medallion there. And she was like, oh, okay, I will. And so there's just been some conversations around that people, some of them are fantastic. Anna in the spa, fabulous. And then I'm not going to use their names, but there were other people that we were just wow, what is happening? So that's just it's just a very odd feeling, I guess. All right. So last up, I wanted to talk about the big ugly thing that is kind of, that we're encountering. And that is that the left hand doesn't really know what the right hand is doing. And so they're giving out conflicting information left and right. I'll give you an example. So on our day in Belize, a couple of us had an excursion booked through a third party, which I have done multiple times. That is not something new and different or anything like that. It's a pretty typical thing. The instructions on that document said that we needed to be on one of the first ferries, tender ships, off the ship, bringing us into port in Belize in order to make our excursion. So the night before, I went to the app and I said, hey, I'm just trying to figure out how this all works. I've only actually ever tendered off a ship one other time because most of the ports I've been to, well, except for that one, you just dock and you walk down the pier. So it's an easy process. So I said, I just need to know how to do this. And the woman said, oh yeah, no problem. We're used to that. Just make sure you arrive between 7:45 and 8 o'clock at the Crown Lounge and get your ticket to get off the ship. And I was like, oh, perfect. That's all I got to do. She's like, yep, that's it. So the morning comes, and we met in the Crown Lounge. We actually ended up being ahead of schedule. And one of the people in my party had already been told that there were so many people on third-party excursions that they couldn't guarantee that we would be on the first, second, or third tender ship off. And so she was telling me this, and I said, what time did you get here? And she said 7:05. So that was a full 40 minutes before the others, before we were told when we should be there. So I went over very kindly with a curious mindset, because I am not only thinking for myself and this trip, I'm thinking for my clients, I'm thinking for the listeners, I'm thinking for you right now. Like, when you are considering a cruise on a cruise ship, and then how you book your excursions, like, we need to know what that's like. And so I just asked, I said, so I'm confused, because the person I spoke to, I said I could show you the message. And she said, well, they don't know what they're talking about. And I said, okay, well, as a guest, how would I have known that? Because there was no hesitation by this person that I could pick up on. It was literally just that, like, be here at 7:45 and it's no problem. And their attitude was not my problem. In fact, the woman said to me at one point, she said, actually, I didn't tell you that, so I don't really have the answer as to why they were wrong. And I thought, wow, okay. And I will reiterate again, I was not Karening. I was not having a scene. I was literally just asking a question. And I told her, I said, I'm just really curious, because I don't want to have this happen again. So I just need to understand. And her response was, you just need to get down here as early as possible. And I said, so midnight? 1? Like, when is that? She said, well, we usually set up a half an hour or so before, but it could be anywhere up to 2 hours before the ship docks or pulls into the area. And I was like, so I could possibly have to be here from like 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, we did end up getting to our excursion on time. It all worked out absolutely fine, but it was such a stressful situation that I don't think I would recommend third-party excursion providers on Princess again, because that was like one of those things where the cruise line doesn't care. If they don't care, then there's nothing I can do to make my situation any better. It's not like I could plan my own boat ride, right? I had to use what they were going to provide. So that was kind of the big, bad, ugly. I will say we have found some struggles like that a couple different times, but that was the biggest, most stressful one. So, all right, that's my take right now. We are day 4 in. I'm sure I'm going to do another episode about this, some more information. I'm also sharing the stories and information on my social media. So if you want to look at Mickey Guru Travel, either on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, I'm sharing kind of the stories and the things that are happening, good and bad, because I am more about giving accurate information and getting people to have realistic expectations of things than making it look all rosy, right? I mean, that's kind of why you're here listening to this. You're not looking for the biased opinion, I hope. Otherwise, this might not be the place. But I am off to meet the family. We are going to actually play some board games for a little while, and then there is a music trivia game that we want to try, and we'll see. There's a lot of those going on, and I feel like for some reason we actually are doing better with them than I ever would have imagined. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Until then, I will see you real soon.
Thanks for listening to Talk Travel to Me. We hope this episode cracked open inspiration for the treasures that await you at your next dream destination. If you love the show, please review, subscribe, and share it with a friend. At Mickey Guru Travel Company, we're your trusted guides for theme parks, cruises, resorts, and more. Visit our website at mickey guru.com to learn more and book your vacation today.